Welcome for another chat regarding residential technology integration. This time it's going to be a broader scope. We're not going to stay in the home theater universe. We're going to get a little wider now. And we're joined by John Cooper, who's director of the Next Level. Hi, John. How are you?
Yeah,
good
well,
to see
thanks.
you. Nick Fichte is residential regional sales manager from Crestron.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome. I'm doing well. We're going to talk about the project now. You can go ahead and advance to the first slide if you like, and we'll take a look at what we're talking about here. These are the Mayfair house apartments, and from the awards copy that somebody at EMEA wrote, I will give them the Cliff's Notes version of this. The vision for this project was to produce the most sought-after short-term rental apartments in London, and I hear that monthly rentals here are in the tens of thousands of pounds. The Next Level knew that the end result needed to be user-friendly, utterly reliable, and meet the requirements of the most demanding high-profile clients. The firm won 5 CEDIA awards in 2018, not bad, for Best Multiple Dwelling Unit Design, Best Documentation, Best Dressed Rack, Life Lived Best at Home, Technology Meets Design for this one project. Where does one start? When you've got a project of this scope, where do you begin?
I think there's only one place to begin with any project, and that's ultimately the client brief.
Okay.
You've got to get a keen understanding for the project concept, also the target market. So we were quite lucky to have dialogue with the investor and also with the entire design team. Having that dialogue with the investor is always key, because you can sometimes shoot straight to the source and actually just run things past them in terms of budget, in terms of the scope of works.
Sure.
So you can get great guidance that way. Quite often with these sort of projects, you don't actually meet the investor, but in this case we had that dialogue, which was excellent. So yeah, always starts with the client brief. The consultancy period for this project was quite long. In fact, we weren't the first consultant on the project. We came in sort of a year or two into it.
Really?
But we still had a 3-year consultancy process on the project before it started on site.
This was a retrofit?
It was a refurbishment for 3 of the apartments.
Okay.
And then it was actually a new build level to create a duplex apartment with mezzanine roof terrace.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. What system, these are furnished?
Yeah, fully furnished, fully kitted out.
Different floor plans talking about?
The laterals all have the same floor plan, and the penthouse clearly different to the laterals.
No common areas? These are all individual, or?
There are common areas, so it's got a 24/7 concierge in the building. So we have some common areas running through to the service lift and also the passenger lift to the apartments.
So you're talking about potentially a different tenant every month.
Yeah, this was, the concept behind the development was for short-term, high-yield rentals. So from day one, we knew that the likelihood is that the turnover will be monthly, yearly, and unlikely to be further than that. So
that means you got to bring in the Crestron guys really quickly.
It was, a great choice. We looked at the entire market. There's a lot of smart home technology out there. We have had a great relationship with Crestron for many, many years. That's ultimately not the only deciding factor. You've got to look at the reliability of the product, legacy for support. This is key with the products you're putting in. And Crestron have that legacy. They are world-renowned for home automation, and being an ultra-prime residential project, home automation was key. It had to be reliable, and you look no further than Crestron quite often at that level.
So talk about the specific challenges that you encountered in this project.
So for us, really, it was a case of getting involved as early as possible with the guys at the Next Level to be able to bring together what the requirements were, understand those briefs for us. It's really important that we, in what we do is that it's an end-to-end solution. It's not just a touch screen and a processor. This is people using these projects day in, day out, and different people. So they have to be able to understand how it works without having to have a user manual or something stuck on it to explain
that's
how it works.
key. Yeah. with these sort of apartments where you're not going to get a family moving in and living in that apartment for the next 5-10 years.
And it becomes second nature. That's completely intuitive because they've learned it. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, one of the key things with the Crestron user interface is that it's completely bespoke to the client.
Right.
We have the freedom to design it exactly how we want it to look. We don't have soft keys on there that have no function.
Sure.
Or there's a question mark over what it does. You can literally
change languages as well.
Yep,
When
absolutely.
you've got people from different nationalities coming in and renting the apartment for a week, they can sit there and change the language to French or Spanish, whatever it may be. And I think things like that were probably, why you went down that route. Certainly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's talk about the various systems that went into each apartment. Audio.
Yeah, so the audio-visual systems were all proprietary Crestron products.
Okay.
We used the Sonex audio distribution system. It's a fantastic product. It's built like a tank, very, very reliable. We also needed the flexibility to work with different audio source equipment. Mm-hmm. So one of the nice things about the Crestron system is that it's kind of open to interfacing to absolutely anything we wanted to integrate with it. And again, design that bespoke user interface.
Yep.
High quality amplification, make the speakers sound great. Very tight rack space. We can actually rack these units up directly on top of each other if we needed to. Mm-hmm. So it was ideal product to use for this project. Mm-hmm. In terms of the video distribution, actually when we started out with this project, 4K was kind of a little way off, just a few months off. It hadn't really kind of got there. So during that consultancy process, the move to 4K happened, and we had digital media in there originally. Crestron were very quick to develop their 4K distribution cards for the DM matrix switches.
Okay.
So that was upgraded throughout during the project. Excellent quality, again, built like a tank. I have to say the Crestron digital media system is the best digital video transport system out there. It's fantastic.
Terrific.
And it allows as well because it's a modular chassis-based system, that if it decides that one of those apartments gets sold and someone's going to live there and change it, that you can add extra sources, you can add extra endpoints. It's very flexible from that standpoint.
Yeah,
as well.
that was absolutely key to the project. We knew that the systems were going to evolve, not just through the consultancy process and the project timeline, but also when new clients moved into the properties. They will each have their own requirement for sources, foreign satellite, IPTV.
Yep.
To have a chassis capable of interchanging cards was key to the project.
Okay. And each apartment has its own media room, is that correct?
Yeah, it does. Now that was interesting because square foot space in an ultra prime residential project is key.
Yeah.
It's an area where the designers and developers want to give you limited space for a lot of the audio-visual requirements, and the media room was no exception. We had quite small rooms for the media room, so there's a lot of deliberation on whether or not to actually kit out the apartments with a media room or use it for another purpose, another bedroom, that sort of thing. Ultimately, the estate agents were quite key in that decision making. Their opinion was that to achieve the highest rental value for the properties, for the individual apartments, a media room was key to that.
Excellent.
So we worked with that, and we actually designed a media room that could have a change of use to a bedroom if so wished. So the cinema system was very discreet, using in-ceiling trapdoor screens, retractable screens, and future automation projector lifts, so we can tuck the technology out of view. And day one, the system, the room, was set up for a media room, but we'd also designed it for change of use, so it could quite easily have been changed to the use for a bedroom suite.
Any control issues when you're talking about that kind of quick change?
I think, again, that the flexibility that,
Sure.
that Crestron brings with that is it allows it to, these guys can very quickly change room names on the system. They can change the functionality so that, at particular times of day it may not behave in one way or the other. And can be done remotely as well, which is a nice thing. So if someone's coming in and it needs to be changed to a bedroom, all of a sudden these guys can quickly fire up a laptop wherever they are and change that room.
Excellent. Talk about the lighting control and the design there.
So again, Crestron lighting.
Okay.
We tried to keep the building as designed as much around the Crestron ecosystem as possible. Just that perfect integration between the different components. The lighting system was ultimately a phase dim system with some 0 to 10 volt dimming. We worked with the designers to test all of the fittings. Ultimately, one of the most important things to do is to actually get the drivers and the lamps into your R&D department. Run tests on the lighting system with multiple fittings.
Yep.
And one of the nice things about the Crestron lighting system is that we can go into the back end and we can actually trim the levels so that we can create nice dimming curves. And also with some fittings, you can trim out the last sort of 10-15%, so we avoid any of the flicker in the LEDs at their lowest settings.
Climate and HVAC controls.
Yep, so originally when we were involved at the very beginning, we were looking at a KNX BMS system and integrating the Crestron to it. And as the project evolved, that actually changed to a Trend BMS, which was absolutely no problem with the Crestron system. One of the great things is the flexibility. We can interface with pretty much any BMS system out there.
Backnet
KNX,
built in.
Backnet, all of that good stuff. So it was quite an easy evolution. It didn't cause us any problems because ultimately we're doing the same thing. And we can craft and design that user interface around any BMS system. Ultimately, it just had to be a super simple interface for the client.
I would imagine that security, notification, alarms were hugely important, not just to the individual renters, but the property owner as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. The fire and intruder alarms were both integrated with the Crestron system. We had a push notification system going through to the concierge, both on the touch panels and mobile devices, and also the property managers. So that was key to the system. We can do an awful lot with the integration of alarm systems. And in this instance, we had some settings set up for different lighting settings in the case of the fire alarm going off or the intruder alarm going off.
Energy management.
Yeah, so we have intelligent power distribution in the building. Each of the racks is furnished with a power distribution unit by a company called Bryant Unlimited. They're our go-to PDU for any rack-based central distribution project. Broadcast quality power distribution. So much flexibility. We work with Bryant to develop their firmware so that the distribution systems do exactly as we want.
Terrific.
We have current sensing on all of the individual outputs of the PDU so we can physically see whether a product's on, off, or in standby. We can also have the secondary input linked to a UPS. What's really nice about this is that we don't have to run the whole rack off the UPS. We can plug into the PDU on the secondary input, and when there is loss of power and we have that changeover, it automatically shuts down the non-essential devices, just leaving the critical devices like the home network, the CCTV, the telecoms, that sort of thing running. But then ensuring that it doesn't present too much load to the PDU or to the UPS. So that was key. What's nice about having that level of control over your power is you can set up hibernation modes for the system. So let's say, for example, one client moves out, but that system is still live to a degree.
You anticipated my next question. Way to go.
Right. So we can shut everything down. It doesn't have to be in standby. That system can be completely shut down.
That's terrific.
Just leaving things like the processor running so that we can boot it all back up.
So you've got an unoccupied scene, obviously, but you have other scenes in there as well, probably for housekeeping, I would imagine, and others.
Yeah, ultimately, we can customize those scenes as well for any client moving into the property, and we have done so already. I mean, there's been a high turnover already.
Okay.
So yeah, the scenes are completely customizable. We actually have a check-in, check-out process, so that when a new client moves out, we go in there, ensure that the system is left as should be, rectify anything that needs rectifying. And then when the new client moves in, we establish their requirements, and we take care and cater for that before they move in.
And are there client modifications as you're going along? I mean, are any of these folks adding stuff to the system?
It's been minimal, to be honest.
Okay, good.
They're well-furnished apartments, and it's typically down to the viewing packages and that kind of thing. So it's very much designed for the clients to bring their own mobile devices into the project.
Bring your own device, right? Yeah.
Bring your own device.
Sure.
We have AirPlay there, so they can just easily stream.
Great.
We have both guest and client network.
So, what was the biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge. Do you know? I think
Nick's actually laughing. So I can't wait for his answer. So,
I think for any technology integrator, there's not so much a challenge over what you put in and how you integrate it. I think the biggest challenge actually comes down to the space you're provided, the requirements for air cooling in the rack rooms. You have to fight your corner quite hard these days because, again, the square foot value comes into it.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to
throw away.
Provide enough distribution, air distribution around a rack.
I mean, the developer sees AV spaces as throwing money away. They ultimately so you're pushed into the tightest spaces, and then when you've got to get an air cooling unit into that room, you've got that consideration and just coordinating it all. That was probably the biggest challenge. Also, to a degree, we had 2 lifts in the apartment.
Okay.
So we had a scenario where the lifts were going, or the trade lift was going directly into the AV room. So we had to manage that with a managed fob system, so that ultimately there were no actual buttons in the lift for the lift to arrive in the flat. Mm-hmm. Only the concierge or the owner of the apartment, the tenant of the apartment, could actually allow the engineer to come up into the apartment. So that was a consideration, how we dealt with that. And we had a similar scenario with the main lift for the tenant. It actually landed into a communal space for the laterals, but into the apartment of the penthouse apartment. So, so again, that needed to be managed with fob system and controlled by the concierge as well.
Nick, you had a chuckle when I mentioned challenges.
John touched on it earlier about the 4K cards coming for the DM and things like that. We really had to, obviously at shows like this, they're great for us. We all get very excited as a manufacturer to say, look, we've got all this wonderful stuff that's coming. It's amazing. Then, of course, our dealers get excited and then they tell their end users, this is what we've got coming, this is what we can do. But of course, to make sure that product's then released and get it there on time and make sure that, of course, it's all there working and absolutely what they need to be. So for us, really, it was just, we talked about it, so we had to get it there, and we did.
You won awards for the racks and documentation. There's an incredible amount of cable management that went into this one, I'd imagine. Yeah. Talk about the man hours. Talk about how complicated that was, and keeping that documentation, readily available so that should something, God forbid, go wrong, you're Johnny on the spot with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we take a great deal of pride in our cable management of our equipment racks. I think all of our engineers see it as a bit of a challenge. It's kind of like an in-house thing. Who can build the best rack?
Oh, that's great.
So that was a nice award for them to win. We spend a lot of time on the racks. It's very easy to just throw these things in and just chuck the cables in, and we see that a lot.
As a manufacturer, we certainly see the varying different scales that they can be and styles and things like that. So it's always great to see, for us especially, the more swirls in the rack, the better, and when they're dressed as beautifully as they were in this product.
There you go.
Project, it's really rewarding for us to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's very key to build the equipment racks off-site. You get a very limited time window to actually go to site and install the equipment.
Yep.
I mean, the custom installation trade, I mean, it's a finishing trade. We're kind of last in, last out. And your time's always squeezed, so your window of opportunity to get in there, install the equipment, commission it, test it, get all of the bugs out of the system is very limited. So by building the equipment racks off-site, we can actually fire them up blast the program into the Crestron processor, start testing things, so that by the time we go to site, we're pretty much ready. You know, we just roll in, hook it up to the patch panel. So we've already installed a patch panel on site with everything neatly terminated, labeled, and that documentation's there, so that our engineers know exactly where to plug everything in. So we literally roll up to site with pre-built racks. The only thing that isn't in them is the actual physical components, so those are taken out, but they're pre-wired. So we roll them up, patch them in, then just populate the equipment, and that can be turned around in a few hours.
That's
and,
great.
and you're ready to rock. So if you've got a lot of your equipment already installed on site, your door entry system, your touch panels, speakers, all that good stuff's already in. The actual process from installing that rack to commissioning is very quick.
So it's fragile equipment as well, right?
Yeah.
You don't want it. You don't want it being there on site too long and it getting stolen from other tradespeople. And also, you don't want it getting damaged. I will never forget when one day I walked into a project site and the end user said, "Oh yeah, there seems to be a message on everything saying it's overheating." So I walked downstairs to the basement to where the racks were, and there was a dust sheet draped over the top of the racks, and a guy there soaring next to it. I thought, "Yeah, this probably isn't the best thing. Would you mind moving, please?" But you know, that's what happens on building sites. Everyone's rushing to get finished.
Especially in the tighter spaces too, in urban areas. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge amount of pressure on the main contractor to meet their deadlines before they go into sort of LADs. You know, getting penalties. So they don't care what the condition of the site is. When your time's there to actually go in and install, that's it. That's your window. You have to do it.
Yep.
So fighting that scenario as well, and kind of like digging your heels in to say, look, this site isn't ready. You know, we've got dust everywhere. There's guys cutting stone. You know, this is detrimental to a high-end AV rack with a lot of expensive equipment in. So you've got to fight your corner a little bit on that as well.
Absolutely. And you also worked well not just with the builders, but obviously with the interior designers and the architects, because you picked up the Life Lived Best at Home and Technology Meets Design Awards. And talk about the process that you have when you're ironing out those issues with designers and architects.
So again, that consultancy process was a long process. Everything was intricately detailed with design drawings. Technology was key to the project, but ultimately it had to be incredibly discreet. We went through all the different finishes available. We were looking at custom finishes for certain products. We have the Crestron lighting keypads that are very discreet, the slim style keypads. So a beautiful finish from that point of view with the custom engraving. We worked a lot with interior designers. We looked at different options with, plaster over speakers, invisible speakers, that kind of thing. Ultimately, we were guided a little bit by budget, so we couldn't do all of the things that we wanted to do. That was a long process to get to the finished product.
You don't see the technology in the pictures, right?
Right.
Exactly that. It's incredible. I mean, we've got
fantastically well hidden.
Yeah, we've got mirror TVs in the space, so with nice ornate frames over fireplaces. We have the mirror TV. There we go in the kitchen there. So very, very discreet and stylish.
So I'm assuming you've built a separate shelf for these trophies in the in the home
cabinet.
office.
Yeah.
But you're using these as marketing tools, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. I think it kind of just backs up your credentials, really. CEDIA's recognised amongst the industry, and there are end clients out there that recognise CEDIA. It's kind of a go-to for advice.
Right.
To come away with 5 awards for one project was pretty cool.
Beyond the trophies, any one aspect of this that you're exceptionally proud of?
We were also the electrical contractor on the project. We had a huge amount of control over the success of the project, which is quite unusual. Not all audiovisual companies have their own electrical department, but that was brilliant. I think the thing I'm most proud of is when the snagging process happened after practical completion. Even though we were the electrical contractor and the AV contractor on the project, we came away with one snag, and that was on the electrical side. And that's pretty good going.
That's a good day at work.
Yeah, proud of the team for that. That's pretty good going.
Any final thoughts on the project, Nick?
For us as a manufacturer, we strive to see the end-to-end solution. And this for us was a project which was exactly that. By us having the lifetime warranty, for example, on our lighting, enables these guys to be able to offer that as a reliability thing for the developer, for the interior designers, And it's a stunning project for us to be able to use as a case study as well.
Sure.
And for us to be able to say, this is a Crestron project. This is true to life, the real thing, the real deal.
We are up against the clock. John Cooper from The Next Level, thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Nick Fichte with Crestron, thank you.
Thank you.
There's more on the project at CEDIA.net. You can find it in the awards book, the digital awards book there. Appreciate it, guys.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, mate.
My pleasure.
Thank you.